Good afternoon, enthusiasts, and what do you think of when you hear American roller coaster? So many great roller coasters come to mind, like Steel Vengeance, Magnum XL 200, American Thunder, Italian Job Stunt Coaster. Wait a minute. I wonder what other countries think of when they hear American roller coaster. Ah, geez, well that's embarrassing. Any roller coaster enthusiast will tell you that there are different species of roller coasters. The very bottom tier of roller coasters are of course the bad roller coasters. These roller coasters can be bad for a multitude of reasons. Either it's painful, rough, unenjoyable, not paced that well, or all of the above. So, long story short, only ride these for the credit, after that, never again. Above that, we have the average roller coasters, and these roller coasters, for the most part, are pretty alright, but they may have a few things wrong with them. So, overall, these coasters are just okay. After that are the good roller coasters, and these roller coasters are of course good, but they're not quite at the elite level. Next one is the elite coasters. These are top of the food chain. These are the best. These are the greatest. You get what I mean, right? I myself, as of recording this video, have been on 43 different roller coasters, and I can definitely tell a good coaster from a bad one, but every now and then, I stumble across a roller coaster that's in between the good tier and the elite tier. Like, this coaster can be better than some of the good coasters, but at the same time, it's worse than all the elite coasters. And it's just really weird, and it screws up my entire ranking list. One of these difficult roller coasters is Patriot at Worlds of Fun, the B&M invert, and fun fact, it was my first B&M invert. Now listen, I do not hate Patriot. I think it's a very fun ride, it's definitely above average, and above good in some parts, but again, there are just some things about this coaster that just aren't really the greatest. So is Patriot a bad ride? Absolutely not. Is Patriot an elite ride? Pfft, absolutely not. But before we go any further, we need to go back, and once again, we're going back to the 1990s for like the third time in a row. But anyways, back in the 90s, this was a very pivotal decade for both Cedar Fair and B&M. Cedar Fair had not worked with B&M until 1994, when Cedar Point ordered Raptor, which at the time was the tallest, longest, and fastest inverted coaster in the entire world. And Raptor was a big success. It got really good reviews from roller coaster enthusiasts. Oh, and the GP. Because of Raptor's success, Cedar Point would get another B&M 2 years later. This coaster, known as No God, please no! Opened in 1996. And also during this time, Cedar Fair was expanding their park portfolio. Before the 90s, Cedar Fair was only Cedar Point and Valley Fair. But in 1992, the company bought Dorney Park in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and a few years later, they bought Worlds of Fun in Kansas City, Missouri. And in 1998, they bought Knott's Berry Farm. Next, in 2001, they bought a joke. So now, not only does Cedar Fair have more parks under their belts, but they were building a very strong relationship with B&M. After Please no! Opened, Cedar Fair ordered a B&M invert, this time for Dorney Park. It was called Talon, and it was a pretty big hit. I mean, obviously, roller coaster enthusiasts eat this stuff up, so a B&M invert is going to do extremely well at any park. But a few years pass by, and Dorney Park gets a B&M floorless coaster called Hydra the Revenge. Knott's Berry Farm was not going to skip out on this B&M business, so in 2004, Knott's Berry Farm got Silver Bullet, which was a B&M invert coaster crammed into the front of the park. 2005 rolls around and Cedar Fair has 3 parks that do not have a B&M yet. Also, Cedar Fair was planning to build a B&M invert at one of these 3 parks. So which park will it be? Well, not Michigan's Adventure, because that park was screwed from day one. So that leaves us with Worlds of Fun and Valley Fair. Now, rumor has it that this B&M invert was supposed to go to Valley Fair, but for some reason, Valley Fair just hates B&M. So it ended up going to Worlds of Fun, and to be honest, I'm glad it did. You see, ever since Cedar Fair bought Worlds of Fun, the park was kind of struggling. I mean, sure, Cedar Fair gave them Mamba in 1998, which was a pretty big investment, but that was pretty much it for a good few years. But in 2002, Cedar Fair removed one of the park's most beloved coasters, and that was the Orient Express, which was an Aero custom looper. But that's okay, because in 2000, Worlds of Fun got the Boomerang! Yay! Alright, so Boomerang was not a good ride, but in 2004, a new coaster was coming to Worlds of Fun, and this was it. This was finally going to be the true successor to Orient Express. Are you kidding me? I'm not saying that Spinning Dragons is a bad ride, but it's definitely not the proper successor to Orient Express. The park needed something good. So, how about the B&M invert that Valley Fair doesn't want for some reason? Anyways, B&M comes in, builds the ride, blah blah blah, and then, in 2006, Patriot opens at Worlds of Fun as the true successor to Orient Express. Yeah, the history for this coaster isn't anything spectacular. It's a Cedar Fair B&M invert, after all, but it has big shoes to fill. After all, Orient Express was a fan favorite. So how does Patriot live up to expectations? Well, we're gonna find out, because now I'm going to review this coaster based off my opinion and my personal ride experience. So let's do it. Alright, first things first. The name Patriot is actually a pretty good name. I actually really like it a lot. It makes a lot of sense because Patriot is located in the American section of the park, and it just looks really good and sounds really good, so Patriot is a good name. Next up is the color scheme, and ooh la la. This color scheme is gorgeous. I'm a sucker for red, white, and blue, so this looks amazing to me. The color scheme is amazing. Alright guys, let's talk about stats. And Patriot has a max speed of 60 miles per hour with a duration of 2 minutes, and the height of the coaster is 149. No, that can't be. It's almost a 150. It has to be 150. Let's see what RCDB says. Oh, it is 149. That's weird. Like, seriously, B&M, why did you make this coaster only 149 feet tall? You were so close to 150. How did you screw that up? Literally 1 foot away from 150. This is making me crazy. I'm serious. Like, it's giving me OCD. It's an odd number. I hate odd numbers. Like, 149. That's dumb. B&M, do better. Anyways, this coaster has a track length of 3,081 feet, a drop of 123 feet, and 4 inversions. Now, it should be known that Patriot has a very similar layout to Talon at Dorney Park. The first half is pretty much identical. Curve drop, loop, 0G roll, Immelman loop, helix, and then after the helix, these two coasters kind of split off and do their own thing. So it's kind of weird because Patriot and Talon are two very similar roller coasters that, if you really think about it, they're kind of like clones, like not really clones, because, you know, Cedar Fair does not clone a ride, but Patriot is just a slightly less cooler version than Talon. because Talon looks pretty good. I think Talon is a really solid looking B&M invert. But anyways, let's continue on with this coaster review. I'm not supposed to talk about Talon, I'm supposed to talk about Patriot, gosh darn it. Alright, so the ride experience of Patriot goes something like this. After you dispatch, you climb the 149 foot tall lift hill, and then you come to your first drop. And this first drop is pretty fun, I'm not gonna lie. It's a curved drop, and on an inverted coaster, it's pretty fun to pull off, so yeah. This drop is pretty good in my opinion. Following that, you go up into a vertical loop, and this vertical loop is smooth and fun. Like, it's really graceful, and because of that, there really isn't any force on it. So this inversion is kind of forgettable in a sense. Like, yeah, it's fun, but it's not the most memorable inversion out there. After that, you are thrown up into a 0G roll, and this is the best inversion on the ride in my opinion, because a 0G roll is pretty fun to pull off. You don't exactly feel weightless on this 0G roll, but regardless, it is still a very good inversion, and it's my personal favorite inversion on this coaster. Following that, you go up into an Immelman loop, and this inversion is pretty nice. You know it's not my favorite inversion on this coaster, but hey, it's still pretty nice, it's smooth, it's enjoyable, and you'll probably get a kick out of it. Next, you traverse an upward helix, and this helix, it's kind of forceful, but not super forceful. It's still really fun though, it kind of feels like you're flying, so I kind of like it, but again, it's not super forceful, but it's still a good element. After that, you rise up and you fall into the ride's corkscrew, and this is probably the most whippy inversion on the ride. I've been told that all B&M corkscrews are very whippy, and Patriot's corkscrew is no exception. It's also the fourth and final inversion on this coaster. After that, you go up a much tighter upward helix and kind of bounce into the final brake run. And so, your ride on Patriot is now complete. Before I give my final thoughts, I want to bring up how smooth this coaster really is, because this coaster, guys, is just super buttery smooth. Like, no rattle, no bumps, no rough patches, it's all just so glass smooth. To be honest, it's probably the smoothest coaster I've been on so far. So yeah, don't worry about headbanging, because I can guarantee that there is no headbanging on this ride whatsoever. So far, Patriot sounds really good actually. So what makes this coaster worse than some other coasters I've been on? And well, comparing it to the other B&M inverts that I have been on, Patriot just seems tamer in comparison, which isn't necessarily a big knock. It's just that B&M inverts are usually intense and they have really good forceful elements, but Patriot isn't that forceful and it's more graceful than all the other B&M inverts. But it's still a good ride, and I do think that Patriot gets a little too much hate. Like, Patriot is still a very fun, smooth, and enjoyable ride. So, if you're going to ride Patriot for the first time, don't think of it as a super elite B&M invert, just think of it as a simple and fun coaster. So, for Patriot's final score, I'm going to give this coaster an 8 out of 10. It's a very solid ride, and it's a very good fit for Worlds of Fun. But again, it's definitely not going to knock your socks off.
Well, there you go. That's Patriot. If you're at Worlds of Fun, I totally recommend it. It's a pretty solid ride, and I think you will like it. I think.